Hey guys, this is Gangbeat 2 with another battle. I'm playing as Hayastan, the Armenian faction, and my opponent LMT, our favorite Vietnamese player who's back from a long hiatus, is playing as Lusotannan. I'm going to attempt to not butcher pronunciations here. I think these are the Srakir Netadzik. These are the Srakir Martikner, and well, it's the Chuveshavagon Shahvar. It's a fun very Payadag. And these are the Skula Bajinte, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce the Georgian unit. In the 4 of the Pantotapoi Falankitai. And in this battle, I want to show a couple things. First of all, how to use horse archers without just spamming Cantabrian Circle and parking in front of the enemy. As with any unit, any missile unit, you want to aim at big blobs of enemies. You get the most kills that way. And, even though you're shooting at one unit, stray arrows pick off men from another all the time. And so you want to get in as close as possible with them, so as not to waste their archers, but as soon as the enemy turns to get you, you run away as far as possible. And usually you want to turn off fire at will, just so you can save your ammo. Just repeat the process so you can get the most out of your harassment of the enemy. Over here in the distance, you can see I'm also lining up my Netadzik to have a shot at the front, but they don't have very good stamina, and I don't want to waste their stamina running around everywhere. I want to use it on charges, obviously. I should give you a quick overview of my opponent's army. LMT has 2 Kurizi and 2 Cantabria per item. And of course, he's got a couple of the Dosita Taskeli, the 4 Loricati Scutari, 4 of the Clone Takonak, and a flanking force, probably against cavalry, of Gesica Poinen. As you can see, I almost want to call it greedy, but you really do have to get in close, shoot, and get far away. And that's how historical horse archer units would have operated. Historically, they'd run into up to about 45 meters and shoot at the opponent, which is about 150 feet. So, really not much of a separation there. And you usually want to avoid shooting at units like this, but if you can weaken them enough so you can run them down before they can use all their ammunition, then it's a useful tactic. Like in this case, I just send both my Netadzik to just completely destroy these Ghaznazio. And you want to kill enough of them so that they keep routing, obviously. Fast forward a bit. Skirmishing continues. And the Lusitania army. Notice how I placed my army far back, just so I get the most use out of my horse archers, get the most skirmishing off before he gets in close. Obviously I do save some ammo for when he comes in closer. And you can see the trail of bodies left behind. Not that many men, but it's better than none. And it's not insignificant, so you can especially see when they're all tightly grouped up. Look at all these men that were cut down. Although, I guess no, those were a lot of the men that were cut down in the early skirmish. But you can see already we got instantly killed 3 Katuvarum. We've killed a bunch of these axemen. So he sends out he goes to flank. Obviously, he doesn't want to go at the phalanx head-on. Wants to go after my flank infantry. And I kind of recently discovered these guys are actually pretty solid. I must have buffed them enough that they are decent infantry for fighting in melee. Their only drawback is they're not very high in numbers. This is probably a mistake. I do send out this unit sort of unsupported, especially against this this AP unit, but he has it in guard mode, which does not work out very well for him. I am, however, shooting up close, and I did want to just engage him so I could get in attacks on the back of his unit. And it works. I shoot enough of them that they decide to crack. And that's rare, because these Klonotekonak have very high morale. Unfortunately, this does come at the cost of many of these men. But I'm also able to flank with other units as well. So that's about plus. Over here, again, similar story. This time I'm pouring in arrows with my Fanvare Payadog. Again, trying to pour in arrows on the flanks and rear whenever possible. And getting in extra javelins. The problem with this tactic, though, is that it does come at the cost of having my other units eaten up pretty quickly. So I have to do a lot of casualties to make it worth it. Fortunately, the mass arrows are doing a fair bit of damage. You can already see a good number of dead right there. And I'm able to force my enemy back on himself, so that these Scutari really getting cut to pieces by my arrows. Yeah, here's one thing I don't think he's doing well. He really should be more active with these cavalry, especially because my horse archers are... Now, he does use them properly later, and he moves them in, and he deals with my cataphracts with them. Just spoiler alert. And I think I leave these guys out there too long. But he gives me enough time that I'm able to... Now, I don't do this very well. I don't charge effectively with these guys, so I pause them, and I try to run them away, but then I turn them around to get them into melee. And that's something you really shouldn't do. You should just make your decision. Now I try to move these guys in for a charge, but again I realize it's not going to work, so I just line them up and resort to shooting at the enemy, which is very effective. As you can see, best use is getting close. Now, you do see he moves in with his Kurizi. I don't think he charges in as well as he would want to, but he kills off a lot of my men in a short order. And I shoot close range, which is effective, but not as effective as I'd like it, obviously. Because my cataphracts are getting chewed up. Looking at a broader perspective, I finally move in some phalanxes, because I've pinned him down. So, ironically, the phalanxes are usually ones that are supposed to pin. In this case, they're pinned down with other infantry, because he's able to be mobile, and then I move in my phalanxes to use their pike attacks as a devastating flank force. And with multiple. And once I'm out of ammo, I move in my cavalry for a charge, and because these guys have lances, they have spears, they're able to put in a decent charge. Probably a couple of them get cut down by my own arrows. I didn't mean for that, but yeah, you can't help some things. Now the problem here is the problem I mentioned earlier. My strategy does lead to my guys getting chewed up pretty quickly. My infantry, especially because, well, you know, Armenian infantry don't really have very high staying power. And so I had to get these phalanxes in there quickly. And I had to deal a lot of damage with arrows, which I did. That's an impressive amount of damage, if I say so myself. But not necessarily enough as much as I'd like it to be. And another example, you saw I got my horse archers caught there, and I'm getting my other unit caught here in a melee against these guys who have armor-piercing falcatas. I move in my phalanx though, so that's good, but he sees this. You can see another unit beginning to crack over there. And despite taking all this damage, the resilient Iberians don't rout and they keep going. So I bring in my last unit of Georgians to throw javelins. Over here the battle's a bit more easily won. As you can see again, the arrows took their toll. And then once my opponents are pinned, I'm able to cut them down with my lance-carrying riders. He must have run out of javelins. I don't think he uses javelins well. I don't think he aimed his charge at the right unit either. This 96-man Georgian unit is not going to rout quickly, whereas this one that's on the flanks is a lot more likely to. He does cut down a lot of them in a short order. Not as many as he would have if he had used these guys correctly. And there you go. I move in a unit of Scythian riders to charge, but really they're sort of bait so I can get these horse archers shooting. My Persians ran out of ammo by the end of the time, but that's not that relevant. His Dociudata Scale, they're in guard mode, and this is a time where you really don't want to use guard mode because you want to get your elites fighting for as long as possible. So you can... because these guys are really, really hard to kill. Again, you do see the impressive morale of the Iberians. I don't know if he's using these guys very well. Could have flanked and maybe got these guys to rout. Because, yeah, these guys are getting destroyed pretty quickly. See, you can see as soon as these Dociudata Scale get into melee, they begin bringing their enemies down at a pretty decent rate. But I'm able to get a charge in with these Honotakonak. Then everything except the Dulce's route. And that decidedly tips the battle in my favor. With only the Dociudata Scale left, I'm able to swarm the enemy, and it's a foregone conclusion. You can notice how I basically ended up surrounding him at the end of the battle, and he admits defeat. So, well fought, good game. Props LMT for coming back. I look forward to playing you more in the future. Well fought. Let's have a look at the casualty list. I predicted a lot of kills for my horse archers. Oh, lo and behold, I was right. Each of them, high kill rate, and of course, 100 plus for my cataphracts. And, Kinsman got a good number of kills, blah blah blah. Infantry, not as well. You can see the Armenian medium infantry did not get very many kills, neither did the Georgians. But they did their part of holding things up so the rest of the army could do its work. Anyways, good game. Hope to bring you guys more in the future.